So, you moved to Plattsmouth in what year?
It was the fall of 1998.
1998. Okay. And can you tell me what it was like during that time?
Well, we were a young family of 2 kids, and we lived in a house on the north side of town at 509 Avenue D. And at that time, we had kindergarten through 4th grade schools around the town. There was at least 4 of them, and our oldest child, Audrey, was beginning school. Actually, she was doing preschool, which was at a Baptist church there on Chicago Avenue. And then she started kindergarten through 2nd grade at First Ward, which was right across from our house. There was also a 5th through 8th grade school on Main Street, the big building that used to be the original high school for the school or for the town, and then the high school that was up there by the highway. There was 2 grocery stores. There was Sack and Save and Jack and Jill, which Jack and Jill was just down the hill from us, and so I could walk down there if I needed to. We did most of our shopping on base, but every so often, if I needed gas, I used Opie's gas station, which is still there, and it was one of those gas stations where they came out and pumped for you and took care of flat tires for you. Now, when you're paying bills in Plattsmouth, you could do that on foot if you needed to, because the phone company was AT&T at the time, and it had a building on Main Street. And then there was a county building that you could go and pay your gas, water, and trash. And they would have trash day, and you paid it, and you had to use your own trash cans. Now, at the time that I had 2 small children, there were 2 drugstores on Main Street. There was a clothing store at once upon a time down there, too. And there have been craft shops that I have shopped in. And the 2 drugstores, an antique shop, and the jail and courthouse were on Main Street, which they still are, and they had a lumber yard at the time. Now, I used the drugstores a few times, and when the clothing store went out of business, that I was able to find some fine sweaters there. Now, as far as entertaining the children, there was a movie theater downtown also that we went to a couple of times. And then there was, at that time, Rylander Park was brand new. They had taken out all the tracks and put in a park down there, which was marvelous for flying kites. And it was brand new with a track around it. And it is still there. There is another park that is on the south side of town, the Memorial Park, which Emmy had gone there with her babysitter, but we hadn't really ever gone there. And there were tennis courts somewhere in Plattsmouth, but I'm not quite sure where they were. But Audrey had found them, so she knew where they were. When we were there, I had found a job because Pomida had just opened up, and I helped to stock the shelves for a brand new Pomida store. And then after that job, I decided to change over to Sack and Save, and that's where I worked until we moved away from Plattsmouth. And they didn't have a daycare center like you would think, as far as Air Force-wide, having one center building, but I had found 3 daycare providers during the time that we lived there that I used for my children's care when I was at work. Other than that, Laura, what else do you need to know about the town?
Well, everything else, like how big was it? Do you remember how many people there were? Anything like that? The class sizes for the girls?
Well, Audrey was the only one that went to school because Emmy was 3 when we moved away.
Yeah.
And it seemed like she must have had, it was maybe under 20 kids in her class. But there was at least 4 other schools that did just kindergarten through 4th grade there, too, and a country school. At that time, Stall School was still going on the outskirts of town, too.
Okay. And you guys moved away. That was when I was born, and then we moved back a couple years later.
Well, we moved
How much?
away like
Well,
3
the
years
difference.
later, and so that would have been 2001.
No,
And then,
you're 10 years off, Mom.
well, no, we moved back after you came along.
Yeah.
We moved away. We moved there in 1998 and moved away at 2001. Then we came back when you were in first grade. So what year would that be?
I honestly can't remember.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
Grade.
14 years ago. So that would have been 2005, 2006?
Yeah, that sounds about right. We'll go with that.
And then...
But we moved to the suburb of Plattsmouth, which was not in the town, but away from town, and a bedroom community. And at that time, when we first moved there, Emily was a junior in high school, and she was able to pick which school she wanted to, whether she wanted to go to Conestoga or she wanted to go to Plattsmouth. Now, to go to Plattsmouth, though, we would have had to driven her, but she had a driver's permit, driver's license, and so she could drive herself. Now, to go to Conestoga school, there was a big yellow bus that would come around and pick up the children and take them to the school. And Emily decided on Plattsmouth.
Okay. And with the Plattsmouth itself, do you, what type of changes were there, business-wise and
well, since we have
I guess?
returned to Plattsmouth, now Plattsmouth, when we lived there the first time, it had a movie made there. And so they had renovated all the storefronts on Main Street to go along with this movie.
Okay.
So it was pretty.
Yeah.
It had one street light. Yeah, one street light on the corner there. They have since we have returned, they've done beautification to Plattsmouth, and they've made more of a walk plots, sidewalk beautification, and took out the stoplight.
Mhm. They also put in that roundabout too. That was a new that was a new renovation, wasn't it?
Oh,
the roundabout
up by the grocery store. Yeah, that was new because they had built the new high school. Since we returned, they had closed all those little schools for the kindergarten through 4, and they closed the middle school, which was the 5 through 8 on Main Street. And what they had done then was made the newest high school that was there at the time, we were there the first time, into the elementary school, elementary middle. They had added on a part to that school, so it was kindergarten through 8th, and then they built a brand new high school that was across the road. And there was also a new veterinary office there on that corner too. Now, when we lived there the first time, we had a dentist that we used. He's still there, and we use him since we have returned. And there was another practicing doctor, Dr. Carlson, that was there the first time, and I do believe he's still there, but we haven't gone back to him since we've returned. At the time we were here before, the big thing was VHS tapes, and that was our main entertainment. That we'd go out and rent movies, and you could rent them either at Blockbuster that was there by Pizza Hut, or you could go to there was a liquor store that also rented that you could go and rent from, and that was our main entertainment at the time.
Mhm.
Now, the drug stores have both closed from Main Street, and the one now has moved down to, well, since we have moved back, they built a Hy-Vee, and Pomida turned into Shopco, and that fast food place, when it first opened back the first time we lived here, it was Hardee's, and then it turned into a Burger King, and it's still a Burger King. As far as restaurants, on Chicago Avenue, there used to be a family restaurant there. There used to be an A&W before our time, and it turned into a family restaurant, and now it's a Chinese restaurant.
Oh, Golden
Subway
Dragon?
is new
Yeah.
since the last time we lived here. And now is a new Mexican restaurant. And there's been new restaurants downtown also. I think there's been at least 3. There used to be quite a few bars, but as a young family, we didn't go to the bars. And then while we lived there the last time, they had a big fire on Main Street that took out one of the bars. And so that has turned into the city kind of made that into a place now to go and have their
the concert?
shows and the concerts in the summertime.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, they had a carnival that came every year because they had a Corn King Carnival. It's Cass County Corn King Carnival, which they have now renamed it. So I don't know what it's called now, but we know it's the 4K Carnival.
I think it's just the Harvest Festival now.
Okay.
I think. It's been a while.
Yeah, and that always has a carnival that comes in and is on the back street of Main Street there.
Yeah.
The lumber yard is gone. That turned into a place where you could donate for charity, and then that has now closed too, and that has become the new
DMV?
Yeah, the DMV.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did they still have that train museum before?
That has always been here. According to
Okay.
Dad, he had met someone from the family on our second time here that used to live in that log cabin.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then the movie theater, did that go out when you were first here, or is that a newer?
Well, the movie theater closed after we left. The owners of that were Air Force people. And I think they must have retired in Plattsmouth, and they bought the one in Plattsmouth, and they bought the one in Nebraska City. Nebraska City is still going, but the one in Plattsmouth closed down.
Okay. I didn't even know about there being a movie theater.
Now, the car dealerships have increased because Henry's, there used to be something else there, because a place I used to go get my hair cut is where Henry's originally is when we returned, and then his father-in-law owned the place on 75, and so that's where that is now. And then we have a new Dodge dealer, Ford dealer up by the high school. And there's been new housing areas that have grown around Plattsmouth too. So it's now a growing town.
Yeah, I can't really think of much else to ask city-wise.
I've never been good about numbers for how many people there are in a town, so I couldn't tell you. I imagine if you looked it up on information, it would tell you. I do know back in the history, because it's one of the original towns for when people came across the Missouri, Plattsmouth and Nebraska City. The Plattsmouth courthouse holds all the naturalization papers for all the settlers back in the day in the 1886s.
Okay. Yeah.
And the library is right across from the courthouse, and that has always been there. It has been probably more user-friendly now because of all the computers and all the classes that they have there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else you need to know?
Not that I can think of. I'm going to end this.